everyone, this is Jenny. Welcome to Miami Podcast, and I want to welcome this very special guest for the second time. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here in person.
Yes, because last time you were here, it was through Zoom.
Yep.
Because it was at that weird COVID time.
Yep. That we thought would never end, and here it is.
Right,
People
and now we're here.
Are free.
Yes, in person, and so grateful that you brought me some coffee.
You're welcome.
Today. You
have to have a little cafecito.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I needed this today more than you'd ever know.
Really?
Yeah. Because last night, are you into Game of Thrones?
Well, I haven't watched it. I am totally delinquent. I have not seen Game of Thrones.
Okay, you're like a unicorn.
I know.
You know that, right?
I am. It's bad. I have to sit down and watch the entire thing.
Whoever watches it with you is gonna be in for a treat because they're gonna get to see like a genuine reaction.
Yeah.
Well, last night was like the second episode of this new spinoff.
Yes.
So we were all up like super late watching it, and then being nerds and talking about all the stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
So
I have to watch. It's world building. Hello, I have to watch it. But
yeah. You haven't read any of the books?
I have not. I have such a limited time with the television, like aside from Bluey, and then I'm trying because my kids can watch it. And
I love that show.
It's the best.
I think I like it more than my kids do.
I love it.
Honest.
And the kids both love it. Obviously, my older one likes it more.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do. They copy Bluey stuff all the time, which is very funny.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
I love how imaginative the show is.
It's amazing. They have some really good episodes.
They do.
Like really creative episodes. I saw one where they were doing like screen share. Mm-hmm. The other, like there was a new one, and they're just getting really. It's in the new. I can't believe we're talking about kids shows, but yes,
this took a turn.
Yeah, I know. But I need to see Game of Thrones. Yeah. I will sit down and watch the entire thing.
Well, let us know.
I will.
I'll be curious.
I will.
I'll be curious to see all the emotions that you go through as you watch. So anyway, I say all that to say I'm really grateful for this coffee this morning. Because it was rainy out.
Yeah.
It was just like such a slow morning.
I know. I was like, I went I was a little bit early and I was like, oh, Gilbert's is right there. I'm going to stop. I have enough time. I got off and, ordered this and pan cubano, and the lady that held the door open for me was buenos dias, everyone, and I was like, I felt very happy Miami today.
Yeah.
And even the little gloom of like tropical end of summer, I was in a very like almost just like melancholy Miami, but I love you happy, but
yeah,
like all
that's a good way to describe it. Definitely felt it this morning. So I appreciate your coffee very much. Well, we have a lot to chat about, but I want to start with your latest, most exciting project.
Yes.
Your children's book. It's your first one.
My first picture book, children's book, yes. And I'm super excited about it because I actually wrote it in 2016.
No way.
Yep. I wrote it in 2016, and it was just something that I wrote because I was like, I want to write a story about my grandfather. It's about him teaching me to bake bread and telling me the family story, because when you bake, you have to wait. I don't know if you bake, but you have to wait a lot.
I wish I could say yes, but I don't.
It's a lot of waiting, like you have to let the dough rise, and then you have to wait for it to, it's over and over again, bouts of waiting. So the first time we made it, I was like, oh my God, this is all waiting. And he was like, yep, baking is about waiting. And then he would tell me his stories. And his story's crazy. And he escaped 3 tyrannies, Franco, Hitler, and then Castro. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like, how do you put all of this into a kid's book, which is so heavy, and at the same time encourage kids to ask their parents, grandparents, whoever, about their own family stories. So yeah, that's all. It's a little bit of what's behind it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write it?
It didn't take very long to actually write it. I read a lot of, I was like, well, how do you write a picture book, right? This is back in 2016. I had never, sat down to do that. And that was before I started writing for kids TV. So even that world was not open for me yet. And so I read a lot of picture books and came to the understanding that they are a certain amount of pages, that they're very, very specific. They're all under 1,000 words, sometimes under 500 words. You know what I mean? They're very short. You have to figure out how to tell a story. So it was more like the time that it took to research around how to do the thing. And then when I sat down to write it, it was pretty fast. Yeah. It was
That's
like
so cool.
a couple days. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But then from 2016 to actually publishing it is a different story, right?
Yeah. So that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
How come there was a gap?
It takes so long. It really does. It takes so long. With picture books, sometimes the amount of time that it takes is because if they buy it right away, to pair you up with an illustrator and then the illustrations in that process. That wasn't my case. My case was just like, I guess people they were not, at the time, I feel like we were in a different space in 2016 than now. And I feel like they just didn't get it and were like...
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so I had an agent that was like, this is great. And then she sent it out a couple places and was like, okay, nobody wants it. And I thought, okay. So I just left it in a drawer for a while. And every time someone would ask me, like... Then that I started to like write for TV and kids TV, every once in a while someone would ask, do you have anything, kids related? And I would send this and they'd be like, oh my God, this is so cute. It doesn't fit this list. But it started to get better. Like, I felt like, it's going to get out there somehow. Mm-hmm. And then I got a call from this publishing house, Cardinal Rule Press, and they were looking for submissions. And I sent mine in. And it essentially won a contest to get published. And then they're publishing it. Lovely, lovely, lovely publishing house.
Oh my
gosh.
Them. I love that story. Because it feels like now it's a perfect time for this kind of book.
Yes.
Where it really tells kids to dive into their history, who their parents are, where they come from, their grandparents.
Yep.
And I mean, waiting.
Yeah.
We need to learn that now more than ever, right?
I know. It's funny because the process of getting the book published was waiting.
Yeah, it's like a crucial theme in the book.
Yeah, and it's like this waiting that's not. It's like things are very much alive while you're waiting. Mm-hmm. Like if you think about the yeast and everything that's happening while you're baking and doing things, and the stories that are alive in the kitchen. I mean, I would love nothing more for this to like start having, kids be like, let's make something and tell me your story, I
love that.
Yeah. So
I feel like so many of us have that memory with our grandparents.
Yeah.
Because that was what we all did growing up. Just hang out in the kitchen.
Exactly.
And just talk.
Yeah. Did you have a one grandparent that cooked more than the other one?
Yes. Yeah. On my mother's side, my grandmother always in the kitchen, always cooking.
Yeah.
We were actually talking about this yesterday with some friends that one of the things I regret was not really learning how she made flan.
Yeah.
We lost her about a year ago. Mm. And she made sure that like I knew her best recipes, like her black beans and all of those things. But flan, I just never...
Yeah.
I was intimidated by it.
It's hard.
Yeah. So I have her recipe, but I didn't do it with her.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because it's like you can have the same ingredients and it just be a totally different animal.
Right. And the way they cook too, it was like, échale un puñado. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What is that? So it's like, she's like, just pour some in there and wait.
Yeah. My grandfather used to love like cooking shows, like Julia Child. We would sit and watch Julia Child, like the old, the old shows that they would replay on PBS and stuff. And I think that's where we watched them. But his shelves were full of cookbooks, like all over the world. So on the weekends, I remember cooking with him all the time. Mostly we did like, a lot of baking. But then when we'd have leftovers, he'd be like, I remember making croutons, and croutons were because we had leftover bread, and you cut it up, you put it in the frying pan, and you could put it in your salad. And I was like, oh my God.
Nothing went to waste.
No, you could just use all of it. It was amazing. And he very much was like, all you need is un pan y vino. Un pan bajo el brazo y vino. That's all you need in your life. And for someone who kept escaping and having to run, with his brother, it makes sense. He also worked for the sindicatos in Cuba, and one of them was the Bakers Union. So, yeah. So they have a long history with bread. Oh my
gosh, I love that. And bread, I mean, it's just, it goes back.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of years.
I know. I know.
It's so crucial in every culture.
I know. And it's kind of like beginnings of civilization, you know, because you actually because you have to wait. Like, that's such a luxury, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this book.
Yay.
I can't wait to read it with my kids and bake and go through all of it. Do you have a favorite recipe that you use?
So I really like the recipe that's closest to the one that I would make of bread with my grandfather is actually Julia Child's French bread recipe. Like, if you look her up and look that one up, I use that a lot. And it seems so silly, but it's like, that is what it is, you know? It's very close to it. And then I just saw, actually, they're doing a show. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a show about Julia, about her. It's newish, I guess. Season 1 is out. I don't know if it's a limited or if it was just one season. But it was about how they made the show. And so there's this whole episode of like figuring out that essentially what she created, which was like, you know, you have to actually have the things ready and then bring them out because you're doing a 4-hour, 6-hour recipe in 30 minutes, you know, on TV. So how do you actually make all that happen?
I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Pretty amazing. So, and then.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah. So anyway, that, and then I just make things up also, you know. I have a lot of I'm a vegetarian on top of everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How does it feel for a Cuban to be a vegetarian?
So I've been a vegetarian since I was 12.
No way.
Yes.
That's commitment. I'm impressed.
I watched. Wow. I know. It's kind of crazy. And now I understand my mom, like, coming home. I was like, I watched a video on factory farming at school when I was 12, and then I came home and I was like, so I'm just never going to eat meat again. That's not going to happen. And of course, you're 12 and you have 17,000 phases within half of the first, you know, year that you're 12. So my mom was like, okay, that's fine. And then I wasn't eating meat and and I started the first week saying, I'll just eat fish. So they gave me a bunch of fish and I was like, no, I can't do this either. And I like couldn't eat it. Wow. And I was like, I can't do it. And so then I just completely went veggie. And this was at a time when there was no veggie burgers or Boca burgers or any of that. So my mom was like, okay, you're serious. What do I do? She took me to the doctor, to the pediatrician. She's like, is this fine? Is this scenario fine? He was like, she's going to outlive you all and have a better heart than all of you. Leave her alone. So he was very, you know, progressive in that way. And then my mom started searching for places. There used to be a place called Easy Quick on 27th. I think it was on 27th, like near the Grove. And they had like the very first veggie patties I had seen. So we found garden patties there. And little by little we started. So like that was also part of like, you know, you have to get in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You were a trailblazer.
Oh my God.
I'm impressed. I have to say. I am so impressed. Which, I mean, you were an impressive person, but this I did not know.
So funny. I feel like if we were in California, everybody would be like, yeah.
I started when I was 5.
Yeah. Fine. But here it was like, what are you talking about?
I mean, how do you say no to a croqueta?
You know what's funny? My kids, I call them crocetarians because I don't make them meat, but I let them try croquetas because you know they're everywhere here.
Yeah.
And my grandmother gave him a croqueta, and my son is like, oh my God, it's the best thing in the world. So he'll have croquetas every once in a while, and it's really like the meat that he eats every, you know. So he's a crocetarian. So I'm just used to
I can relate. My kids went through a phase where they would only eat croquetas, and I was going crazy.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother was like, but that's good.
Yeah.
There's meat. There's flour. There's egg. Yeah. It's perfect nutrition.
It's like a little package of. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you say so.
Yeah. Yeah. A pouch of fried everything.
Right?
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah. Whatever.
No, they're delicious.
They definitely went through that phase.
Yeah.
And
so, what's funny is that my son, you know, like I said, like I cook, I make up veggie stuff and I give it to them and whatever they just eat it.
Yeah.
So they're not used to seeing like animals at the sight of them, because they even still, like, you see a hamburger, they don't really understand cow. They're little, 4 and 2, right? So then the other day my husband who's not a vegetarian, he's from Uruguay, it would be that day, like, yeah,
he can't, he just can't.
It's not in his DNA. He cannot do it. He was having a crab, but you could see it, and my son was like, Papi, why are you eating that animal that belongs in the beach? And I was like, oh my God. He was like, his face was like, what is happening? Like, I could see him looking at, so funny. And every once in a while, he tells me, like, Papi eats animals from the beach. Like, I'm like, oh my God, se le quedó. Like, I was like, it's okay, you can choose. I let them. They can decide whether they want to eat them or not. It's like, a lot of people eat them. It's not just Papi. Like, he's not some barbarian.
He must be worried. Like, what's wrong with Papi? Why is he snatching these animals? Oh my gosh.
So it's very funny.
I love that story. That's so funny. That's amazing. How obviously you've read your kids this book.
Yes.
How was their reaction?
They love it, which makes me so relieved, because sometimes I write something and it shows up on TV and they like walk away. I'm like, wow, I failed at that one. That was not good. But they love this book. They love it. They ask me over and over again. Also, Papan, which is my grandfather, is their great-grandfather who passed away. And when he first opened, he was like, Papan, this is Papan, and that's you when you were little. And this is, so it's like that layer just makes them go, like, especially the older one who talks, over and over and over and over again. So I was delighted. Like, the little one just looks at the back and points at my picture. It's very cute. But he asked me to read it over and over again. We were like I took it to, because I had just gotten the advanced review copy when we went on a family vacation. So I was like, let's see. And I took it with us to Yellowstone when we went. And in the cabin, he was like, again, every morning, again and again. And the little one, she would bring it from where the fireplace was, bring it to me, sit down, open. So they love it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's like my greatest gift, I think, of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So you broke through the, I would say, the harshest audience, right? Because kids are just very blunt.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Now this is gonna be a hit.
Knock on wood.
Everyone's gonna love it.
I hope so.
Yeah. If you got them to love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a gift. Because I swear, it's like I tell you sometimes, I'll be like, look. And they're like, nah. They're
not impressed. No. Yeah. They're tough. They're a tough crowd.
They are.
Yeah.
But they did like this.
My God. Of course. Yeah. Before we dive into some of the many other projects that you've had your hand in, what was the biggest challenge you feel like for this book, besides that whole publishing process?
So there was a moment, and this is very interesting. There was a moment where I like got a little bit scared, because when I got the galleys for it, early galleys, I saw that in the jacket, what would be the jacket eventually, that it said printed in China, and I was like, what? So I got I was like, this can't happen. This is about escaping 3 tyrannies. It can't happen. And I was like, okay. In my brain, I was like, this is a book that, as you know, took from 2016 to get a publisher, right? And I was like, okay, I need to say something. And I had to prepare myself in my brain for if this publisher says that there's no other way, because at this point, it's already going to press. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So I wrote her an email, and I was like, hey, I can't have this book printed in China because it's literally about escaping dictatorships. And I sent her a list of human rights abuses in China. I sent her a bunch of links. I was literally at the UN when I received at the Geneva Summit for Human Rights. Literally in Geneva, listening to people say that our biggest threat is China right now, in terms of the threat to democracy and just in general. So I just like, I have all goosebumps, because I was like, this can't happen. So I wrote to her. I told her, I'm right here right now listening to these people talk. These are the lists of, and she was like, okay, this is going to be incredibly hard. Let me just get back to you. She didn't, she wasn't like, no, what are you talking about? She's very, okay. So it took a moment. I was like holding my breath, and she got back to me and said, I just want to thank you so much for this email. She did let me know how much of a price difference it was going to be. It was inordinate. It was a lot of money that she was going to lose. And she changed it to print in the United States, which is crazy. So that entire process was a back and forth, super like smart, gentle, kind, like amazing publisher, Yeah. So then eventually they acquired another imprint. And then I think they're using their publisher, their a printer. So one thing led to the other. I have to ask her for the specifics. I want to know like what was going through her mind. At that moment, I was just like, it just has to be printed in the U.S. or anywhere that's not a tyranny. You know what I mean? Like that's what needs to happen for this book. So it's printed in the United States, and I feel like she's pretty much shifted the model, you know what I mean, which is I feel like incredibly powerful. In my brain I was like, I have to say if this goes the direction of it's printed in China, I'm not gonna be able to, I'm gonna have to pull out, and it didn't go that way, thank God. So yeah, it was kind of scary, and at the same time just I had to do that because there was no way that my grandfather's book of having escaped all of these dictatorships that it would be that you couldn't. So
oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, kudos to you for
and to the publisher, honestly.
For saying something, and then to the publisher for just following through. My goodness.
She's amazing.
I wouldn't even have thought that would be an issue. Yeah. But then it's like, well, duh, everything gets done in China.
Everything. Right? I started to look at
we take for granted now the things that get made in the U.S.
Yeah. That's a lot. It's a lot. And it was just like, it just couldn't, and it's not that, it's hard to get around, like, it's not like we don't have things made in China. It's just, it was not possible for this book. You know what I mean? Like it had to be a line somewhere. So, but yes, I'm like super grateful to her.
Wow. We need to what's her name? Let's give her a shout out.
Maria Dismondi.
Maria.
At Cardinal Rule Press. She's amazing.
You're amazing. Yeah, and we thank you. Yeah. We thank you so much for putting in the hard work, because I'm sure that must not have been an easy conversation for anybody. Yeah. You, her, the whole team to have. But doing the right thing pays off.
Yeah, totally.
I believe. Yeah.
So do I. She was so like...
I have to.
Yeah. Gracious about it. And I know that she, lost money in the process, but I feel like, and I hope that in the end it's like back in abundance. You know what I mean?
For sure. It's all gonna be worth it. Yeah. And you guys are setting an example. Yeah. For everybody else. That, sometimes it's okay to put your foot down and say no. Yeah. No, this doesn't work. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. When I asked you that question, I did not expect that answer. I have to tell you. Oh my goodness. Yeah. How was it working with the illustrator?
Oh, he's so great. Tim Palin, he's amazing. He's done a bunch of stuff, and like he asked me for, family photos. So I sent him a bunch of pictures in a folder through the publisher, and when I saw them, I was like, oh my God, he chose. So he also asked me like how I saw my grandfather of all these pictures, like what age, you know what I mean? Like which was because, but I really think of him the age that he was teaching me to do all of that, right? So I was like, this picture would be around the age where he was teaching me. This is how I was when I was being taught first, when it was like early, and I had bangs, and so that shows up in the illustrations. And my grandfather had a gap tooth. So cute. It's in the illustrations. I think they're beautiful.
They are. And I love that serene. I'm sure he did that on purpose, right? Yeah. But it has like these very serene tones in the color. Yes. Like these calm blues. Yes. I can't wait. Yeah. I'm so excited for you. Yay, it's such a work of art.
Thank you. I was very, very, very lucky to be paired with such a great illustrator, because you don't know,
Yeah. And what if you don't like them? Like how...
I don't know. I don't know. Thankfully, I love them.
Yeah, right. Thankfully, this is not the conversation with them. But I've always wondered, right? Like when people get paired with their illustrators, and I'm sure it doesn't happen because by the time you get to that point, you're working with people who really great at their craft.
Yeah.
But I always have that thought, like, what if they're not what you want them to be?
Well, I can say that happens all the times with covers of books. You have you don't have a lot of say in that.
True.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So I know a bunch of writers who are like, I hate my cover.
That should not be.
Yeah.
That should not be. I mean, I get it because there's like a lot of marketing that goes into it and they're making sure your book succeeds.
Yeah.
This is like your baby.
I know.
You know? You should be able to look at the cover and connect.
They definitely ask you, like you go back and forth and then like my novel first book, I had a whole conversation with my publisher and she was lovely. Like, you know, in the end we ended up doing what she wanted because I didn't want my own art on the cover, like my own visual art, but the narrator is a visual artist, so she was like, I think this is so awesome, like what about this one from your, and I was like, oh no, and then she was like, all right, how do we do this? So what ended up happening with that was like, okay, let me just show it to people. Not gonna tell them anything. I'm gonna be like, this one or this one, this one and this one, this one and this one, and she won fair and square. In the end, like I love it, but it was like I guess I was just like, oh, I didn't think about that it, you know.
Yeah.
But she was great. But I know of authors that are like, well, we did that process and not.
It did not work out so well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Better one.
Yeah. No, thankfully that was not your experience.
No.
So we talked about that challenging component that I had no idea about, and it gives me so much to think about. Wow, like, yeah, that's crazy, and I can't believe it's not talked more about.
Yeah, and I don't know how many, what gets, you know, it's just that writers don't have that much of a say. That's why I'm so grateful, you know, for this, like, unbelievably like humble, gracious, wonderful person who had a conversation with me about like the depths of why this was so important, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Wow. What was the most rewarding part
about writing the whole thing?
Whole process?
I do feel like there was a moment when I got the advanced review copies in the mail, and my entire family was at my house almost. So like my mom was there, and my grandfather was not there. I did get to tell him before he passed that this book would come out. Like I knew that. So he left knowing that. I don't know how much was received at that moment, but I believe that he knew it. It's dedicated to my grandparents, so showing it to my grandmother and seeing that it says, you know, Papa and Mama there, you know, and my mom, my kids, my niece and nephew all were in the house when I opened it, so it was like this rush of, what is this? Oh my God. And it was like very, very moving. So I feel like this is a family book, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I was very happy for that moment.
Of course. Yeah. What a memory.
Yeah.
For you and for them.
Yeah.
And later on for everybody.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Picks up a copy.
My sister was there and she ended up reading it to them that day. And it was really cute. It was like very, very sweet.
Oh I
sat down in a little circle and listened to her. It was adorable.
So when did you decide, because as you mentioned, you have a novel and you've been writing all of your life, I feel like it's safe to say, right? When did you decide that this was something that you wanted to dip your toe into?
Kids.
Yeah, kids books.
I think I just love picture books. So really around that time, I was buying a lot of them, and I was like, why am I buying so many picture books? I didn't even have kids at the time, you know? It was like, I wasn't even married at the time, you know what I mean? So I was like, I just love them. I find them to be works of art. Mm-hmm. They're beautiful. They manage to do the thing that is the hardest, which is tell you a story in a very short amount of time, like a really full, rich story. And it kind of has everything that I love, which is visual art, writing. It all comes together. It's like the theater. Like I love the theater because it's all there, you know? So with picture books, it's kind of all there. And I was like, I want to write one of these, you know? But when you first reach out to the publishing world with you know, like in picture books, they're like very snobby because they're like, this is what we do. Picture books are like this thing, you know? And so I remember first saying, you know, hey, I've written this novel, I got these awards, I did this thing, I did this, I want to start to do this. And they were like, it doesn't matter. Like, the rest doesn't matter. They essentially were like, none of that matters. This is something else. Have you written a picture book? I'm like, no. It's like, okay. So it was like that whole process at the beginning. I was like, oh my God, this is like it's a whole other world. Like, truly.
Wow.
So I started to just get like to know it, you know? And then I talked to this agent and they were like, just don't tell them, like, don't think that because you have this other stuff that it's going to be. And I was like, oh, I know. And they've already told me.
Been there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's very specific. And they don't like you to come with an illustrator or unless you're a writer illustrator. Like
right.
But they don't want you to come with an illustrator because that's what they also believe is what they do. They match you. And so it's very funny world, but I love it.
Wow. I know. That's so cool.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh. They're like, forget everything you've done.
Doesn't matter. Picture books are something else. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Funny. Which I mean, they are.
They are.
Yeah. I love picture books too.
They're so great.
Yeah. By the time I had kids, I already had like a little library.
Yeah.
Because I've just been collecting them for so long.
I know.
What was your favorite picture book as a kid? Do you remember?
What was my favorite picture book? I don't know. There was one. Yes, I do remember. There was one called that. I don't even know if it exists anymore, if this is the exact title. But I think it was like The Cozy Nook. I think it was something like this. There was a woman on the cover in a rocking chair. And I remember that the illustrations, the cover was like this beige and it had little like orange spots. And the illustrations on the inside were all about like all these cozy things to do. It was definitely more than 1,000 words. It was like, picture books used to have a lot of text, you know? Like, if you look at the Velveteen Rabbit, has a lot of text on the pages. Like, you could never get away with that now. They changed completely. Right. But it's like, I loved that book. Mm-hmm. That's the book that I made my mom read me over and over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to look for that one and we'll link it down below. So people are interested. I'm interested. I want to check it out.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one was mine, actually. You know what? I think, and I'll correct it somewhere if I'm wrong, I think it was called Los Cuentos de la Nana Lupe. And it had very little illustrations, but it was like a kid's book.
Yeah.
And it was set in Mexico, but it was by a Dominican writer.
Yeah.
And I just, oh my gosh, I read that book over and over and over again.
Isn't it funny? It's just...
I still have it.
Oh, I love that.
And I don't let my kids touch it because I'm afraid they're going to break it.
Yeah, that's why I'm with La de Oro. I mean, my mom read me Los Zapaticos de Rosas over and over and over again. Yeah. That's another one that I love. But that book is falling apart.
Actually, yeah. I think I have it here.
Oh.
I see it here somewhere. Is it this one? Yeah, I have see?
Yep, there it is.
This is the one. I have 3 copies. This is the one from, I think, when I was
oh my gosh.
Entering the double digits.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I have the one when I was very young that I don't let anyone touch.
Yeah, that one I don't let anyone because it's falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's 88.
Yep. So it's...
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love this one.
Yeah.
But that other book, this one I remember my parents reading to me. But the other book I remember being the first book I read to myself. Yeah. You know, no help, just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that was the C.S. Lewis books. I just remember sitting down with them and being with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and all of those. And then the other one was the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. I forgot what that title is, but it's they go to the Met.
Yes.
All those books around that age, I remember a lot. Those middle grade books. Mm-hmm. I just really remember then being where is my wardrobe? Where is my secret passageway? I would look for secret passageways in my house.
Oh my gosh.
Did you ever do that? There has to be one here.
Well, I grew up on a farm. Oh my God. My favorite thing to do was just to go explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was we had like a creek at the end of our property, and once you cross the creek, there was just, like, this little like abandoned like shed looking thing, and we used to pretend it was haunted. Yeah. I would go in there and like claim we saw all these ghosts. We never saw anything.
Yeah.
But I loved doing that. It's so crazy how different our childhoods were from our children's. It's kind of sad.
It's true. I used to have this little linen closet where my mom was like, she knew that I would hide out there. I would go on the bottom of the linen closet and stay there for hours and hours and hours and write on the walls, and, like, take my little books inside with like a colchita and like just like on the bottom. Yeah, and she would just let me because I of course thought that she didn't know that I was writing on the walls, you know. But they know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. She was letting you be creative.
Yeah. She's like,
just go.
Harming no one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, really cute.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Sometimes, do you ever have that urge to like correct your kids when they're doing something and you're like, wait.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It could be something good here.
I have my daughter is incredibly strong-willed. Like, incredibly strong-willed, that you're just like yesterday we had guests over and they saw her like being like, no, like she's like, I want this, and it's this line of like how to like make her civilized and also not break her. Yes. Do you know what I mean? Like, keep that spirit.
Like, oh my gosh, you just said it. Like, my husband and I have that conversation all the time.
Yes.
Like, how do we give her the confines to succeed, you know, in society?
Correct.
Without taking away that autonomy and that agency to say no when it needs to be no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a little line that you're always hard. Sort of, you know, balancing on, but it's a process.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and especially for girls.
I think so.
I feel like it's so...
Because they're so fierce.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. All the women in my family, all, like, my daughter, like, they're just so, like, fierce. Like, they're born like... They're just, like... And it's insane to me that gets taken away or it go... You know, like, it sort of gets...
It gets slowly polished.
Yeah.
You know?
And so how to leave them being these fierce, amazing humans and also not have a tantrum.
Yeah. I have a friend, she's a teacher, and she says cute tantrums and I'm totally butchering this. Sorry, Katie. She says something like, cute tantrums become horrible fights or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
It's cute now. It's not going to be cute 10 years from now.
Yeah.
When she's a teenager.
Correct.
And she's like throwing something at me.
And no, of course. Like, they have to, we have to untantrum them. But it's like, oh my God, I also want you to go for what you want in your life. But not like that. You can't throw a tantrum.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so hard. Parenting is...
Oh my God.
It's so hard. Would you say it's harder being a writer?
Yes. I was thinking about this the other day. But I was like, this is why. The reason is because there's no such thing as a draft in parenting. It's all live and it's all the final draft in process. Like, this is what it is.
It's always a test.
You can do these little do-overs, but they're micro and... Pretty much everything you do is there.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas with writing, you know, you don't like it, you do it again.
That's true.
You know? It didn't come out, okay, do it again. I'm not saying that it's super easy, but it's not... Yeah. It's not like, you know, raising humans.
I know. It's so... I mean, you hear people say it, and then... You get to do it and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and the guilt.
Yeah.
Do you have guilt?
Oh my God. I have guilt every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, it's like, oh, I couldn't take him to tennis today. It was someone else that had to take him and I had to go to this meeting, but I'm going to take him on Thursday. Don't worry. And then like this constant like, you know.
Yeah.
You can't be everywhere and doing everything at the same time, you know. But then, you know, whatever. And then, like, all the guilt about everything. I have them now on, they can only watch, like, TV at the very end of the day. And And it has to be like 20 to 30 minutes. That's the amount of time, because it's at the end of the day right when they're going to sleep, and then it ends up being that because they fall asleep. Right. But I was like, there was a moment where I was like, this is too much TV and too much tablet. No. Yeah. And the guilt of that drove me to all new rules in my house.
It's like a constant tweaking. Yeah. I feel like, at least in our house. Yes. Like, okay, we're doing this, but it's not working anymore. Correct. We're shifting. We're pivoting to something else.
Yeah. Now they know. The tablets are special occasions. So every once in a while, he's like, when I told him the other day, there was something that he was eating like way too much of. I was like, that's also for a special occasion. And he was like, tablets are special occasions? This is special occasions. Where are these special occasions?
I don't see them. Oh my gosh, what a character. He sounds so funny.
He's very funny.
Oh man. No, it's been working out for us for nighttime TV. Yeah. I introduced them to I Love Lucy.
Oh my God, I'm going to do that.
They are loving it.
What? That's so good.
No, and it gets better because now, so we've watched I Love Lucy like, I want to say over 5 times.
Yeah. The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Because we own the whole thing. Yeah. So they know the whole thing. So they were like, awesome. Watch something new. I was like, what could we watch? Let's try the Brady Bunch. They're like, oh, whatever. Yeah. So then I remembered Que Pasa USA.
Yes.
And they're like, what is this show? And then my oldest is like obsessed with Violeta. She thinks she's hilarious. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to give me an award. This is like the best idea ever.
That's so smart.
Yeah. So it's been working well for nighttime TV.
Yeah. My sister's kids love, I know this is like not at all like this, but it made me think of, they love Schitt's Creek. They're a little older and they love it. They love it. Like, and my niece's favorite character is Alexa, so it made me think of Violeta's not that far. Like
that's so true.
Their attitude. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't wait when they're older and we get to do things like that.
I know.
Yeah. It's gonna be so fun.
Super fun.
Let's talk about your other writing, your other projects. We briefly brought up the novel a little bit ago.
Yeah, that was old. It's funny because that came out in 2015, the year before I started to write this one. Meaning, like, it's funny because this is what I thought would come out next in the sense of like the book stuff. But yeah, that was a while ago, and then now I'm working on a new one. But they take forever, so we'll see.
Yeah.
When that.
Can you tell us what the new one's about?
I'm not talking about it because I don't want to like.
Let's respect that. So I have this thing set up there that says, how lovely the silence of growing things. Yeah. And I honestly believe that. Like, when you really want something to flourish, hold it tight, keep it to yourself, and just nurture it, and then let it go.
Yeah.
So
true.
I appreciate I respect that.
Thank you.
The first one, so you wrote that one like a year before, or it came out a year before this one?
Came out a year before. Mm-hmm.
What was that like the process for a whole novel versus a children's book?
It was not that different in the sense, it was different writing it. Like, for example, my first manuscript for the novel was like 600 pages, and then I had someone, like, at the time, it was actually my thesis for my master's, and so I had someone working with me, and she was like, okay. And I remember her being like, you could probably cut this whole thing. And with the most fun, I actually have a lot of fun editing. And I'm one of those people that, like, I'm not precious about anything. So I'm like, slash this, take this out, this. Just very fun. And then seeing what's left and saying, okay, now what is this? How do you work with this and revise this and grow this baby? And so that process was, I finished it in 2000 and I would say... So I started in 2007. Yep, 2007. And then 2 years later, I had like what was a very solid draft. And then probably a year after that, and I did the final. Yeah. A year after that, I did. So it was like 2010. And then it was 5 years after that it got published. So I think the publishing process is always long. The thing with that one was that it had images. It has color in it, like literally like pictures, color. It has things that publishers are like, take all that out. So with that one, I decided like I can take it all out and go with a big press, or I can keep my novel and go with a smaller press. And with that one, I decided a smaller press. Right now, I definitely am in like, I want to go bigger because I want to reach more people, but I feel like it was the right choice for that book. And I had a lovely, beautiful experience with that publishing process once I found the publisher. It was super hard to get published because of a lot of things. It was like, it's not like some like loud, rambunctious, like, mystery or this, it's a very, very much literary fiction. It had these pieces of color in it that they were like, this is going to cost a lot of money to print.
Right.
And so it took a minute, but it was great once it actually happened. Yeah. And then, the children's book is what, the journey that we just mentioned. But the writing of it is obviously very different because there's a different, I feel like with children's books, like with the picture books, two things happen, right? You're like, I feel like if you're struggling so much with the thing, it's like, just start again, like another one, because that story isn't working, So, and I feel like when you get it, when you're like, oh, it's this.
It flows.
That's, with picture books, you do that. Whereas with novels, you have to, you're flowing, but you have to revise the monster. It's a whole other thing, Like the revision is the writing with a novel,
How did you handle all those no's?
The notes for, the nose. Yeah. At the time, they're very hard, over and over and over again. And until you're like, get used to it. And then you're like, okay, this is just going to be a thing, If you can't handle rejection, I think you cannot be a writer. It's just one after the other. It's like actors, poor actors. They're just one after the other. No. The thing is, and this is real, it sounds like a cliche, but it's real, that you only need one yes. Mm-hmm. And it's true over and over again.
That's the one that you focus on.
Then you only need one. So you're like, okay, let's keep going. And what I have come to understand now that I'm older, because, I was like so frustrated back then, especially when I was really much younger, it was like incredibly frustrating. But now I realize that the no's are because it's not the place it's supposed to be. Like, not to push those no's, the ones that are really like, no, because it's not where it's supposed to be. And if the no is so no, you're not going to have a good process. And it's not going to be the thing it needs to be. So it's like chasing the yes is the bigger thing than being frustrated by the no. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard because it's like, it's like dating. How do you find the,
right, the right fit?
Yeah.
Did you ever consider to self-publish?
So I didn't want to. I considered it at some point when I was like hitting one wall after the other. And then I didn't want to because of a million reasons. Because I know what it's like, for example, I knew what it was like to produce a play and write it and at some point like be in it. You know what I mean? I was like, I want the editor, the publisher. I also know that, you don't get into the same like lists or reviews. They won't review you if you're self-published. Like you're in a different, you have to really push the book. You have to really push the book anyway, no matter what. You know what I mean? Like people are like, yeah, there's a marketing machine behind it. There is, and you really have to push the book yourself. You know what I mean? And many authors have their own PR and the publishing house PR, like for a book launch. But I chose this route for that, Yeah.
Yeah. That's from the people that I've spoken to, that seems to be like a difficult decision for them.
Yeah.
To either keep chasing that one yes or self-publish.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody that's trying to make that decision?
It's really individual. You know what I mean? And it depends on who you are and what you want for the book. Like if you want to enter the publishing world, I think you sort of have to like go through the ropes, you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean you can't be yourself and original and like all of those things. But it's just harder to enter the machine. You know, they're not going to look at the self-published book. You know, they look at sales. They look at all kinds of things. If they see that you self-published a book and it was a flop, that's going to be a disaster. You know what I mean? For them. Sometimes they don't even look at it, you know, so it's like, but sometimes it's like a lot of times you want it for a particular reason, or, you know, you need to get it out at a particular time and share it with a certain group of people and hope that it grows, you know, bigger than that. I think for those things, why not? You know what I mean? So it really depends on the human and the person and the reason why they're doing the thing that they're doing. I feel like that's the main question. Like, why am I doing this?
Right.
For me, I know that I want to reach a large audience with these stories. So I felt like I need to go through the process of entering this machine, no matter how hard it is, because I need them to take it to the world. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So I need their help doing that. And so I took all the like punches.
Yeah. You did it. You did it. The book is here, and you're on the other side. You mentioned theater a little bit ago. Mm-hmm. How was Rubenology?
Oh my goodness. Amazing. Like he's been just, honestly, we're still working together, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So we're going to keep working with him. And I think something that was incredible that happened is Barry Newport at Gable Stage, who's the artistic director there now, she took a risk because they had never had anything like that at Gable Stage ever. Not only is he 84, the whole thing was definitely like, it had a very, you know, Cuban-American feeling to it, you know, and the jokes are not the jokes they're used to, and the board, I'm sure I don't know if she had to fight the board or not, but she brought us in. It was brave, and it was a blessing to us, and I'm really grateful for that. And I think that we brought an audience that had never even seen Gable Stage, knew that it was there, or knew that it existed. So that I feel like proud of that piece. And then there was a moment in the audience. So Vicky and I, Vicky Collado, the director of it, and we really all kind of made it together. We built this thing together. There was like they did the introduction in English and then in Spanish, and the people next to us, they don't know who we are because, you know, that's why you're all behind the scenes. Nobody knows your face. So she was like, oh my God, they're saying it in Spanish. I don't think they've ever done that. Oh my God. And there you could hear little things like that on the nights, and like one person in the audience like saying they like, you could hear them like, I've never done anything like this. You could hear that sentiment over and over again. That was a beautiful thing. That was a really beautiful thing. So I don't know what's going to come of this, and what, you know, like we're working with it continuously, right. And we're going to, you know, hopefully we get to like we say, legend status with Ruben, which we already think he is, but again, for the greater world out there. Mm-hmm. But that was just like, those moments were worth it for that show. It was short. It was like 3 weeks.
I know. Yeah. That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah. No, don't worry.
It was like, I was like, oh, it just came out. And then I'm thinking, you know, we have a couple weeks. Yeah. And then when I go check, I'm like, it's over? Yeah. What happened? Yeah.
It was very fast.
Yeah. Like will it come back?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll do the one-person show, really. But in some iteration, we're going to keep going with Ruben. Okay. And, like, we have a plan, and we're figuring it out. But he's I mean, we saw him the other day. We're continuing to, like, see what this is. Maybe there's one in Spanish. Maybe there's... You know, so we're like listing out all the possibilities and the things that came out of like people having seen it, and seeing where we go next. So there's that. That will continue.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Obviously, your heritage, your Cuban heritage, is very close to your heart.
Yeah.
You've been working on the help, right, to bring awareness for so long.
Yeah.
How is that going, given the last recent developments?
It feels this is an interesting conversation for right now, because it's like you never stop doing the thing, and sometimes there are moments where you're like, how do you even have words, you know? And it's hard sometimes to find the words, and in those moments I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I need to like read more, talk to more people, do more. Like, I can't go there right now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I can't go there right now. I can't literally go to the island right now. Right now, I cannot go for many, many reasons.
I understand.
And you know, I've been there before, but I just can't do it right now. And it's very hard. I have been having a moment of like, how do I put this into words? This particular moment where the thing is like, so much of, like, for example, the last thing that I did was review this book of Osvaldo Paya that came out called Give Me Liberty. And we did it's David Hoffman is the author, and he's a Pulitzer Prize winner, a really good book. It came out from Simon & Schuster, and I reviewed it, and I moderated his reading at Books and Books with Osvaldo Paya's daughter, Rosa Maria Paya, who was present. And so it was like a back and forth questions between them. But one of the things that like is incredibly hard to hear, and is the thing I am trying to find the answer and formulate into words, is this thing of like, the change has to come from within, and therefore we do nothing on the outside. Like, the change has to come from within. What do you do when people inside the island have been continuously calling for that change, doing everything in their power to create that change, when the government, once tyranny has its claws in you, and that kind of, it's very hard to remove. I am by no means like, I'm not saying let's go to war. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying let's intervene militarily, but there has to be some kind of international consensus around what Cuba is, and that has to continue. And there have to be international measures that are taken. And so I'm trying to find that language, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes a minute, and because you're like, how do you get people the right information, and then, you know, people get tired. That whole like, there's this whole like, you know, Cuba fatigue thing that people talk about all the time, which is you're just tired of pushing and then nothing happens, right? But I don't think that nothing has happened. I think even though it feels like, oh my God, where are we? Nothing's happening. We're in a different place than we were last year, massively. Like,
That's a good point.
And the year before, you know, like, I talk to people, and at least they understand. The biggest thing is getting rid of that false Cuba myth, I think, of this like idyllic communist utopia, which it never was, and is a horrible thing to even, you know, it's horrible. It's such a lie.
You bring up such a good point, because sometimes I feel like, well, people don't really feel that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then you talk to people and you realize they totally do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They totally have bought into that perception of Cuba as this amazing place with great medicine and great doctors and great education.
Yeah.
And I think you are 100% right. If we can just break that and at least approach that in truth.
Yeah. I mean, that's the greatest thing that I think has to be broken, because then you can look at it, and then, you know, then you can talk about like, okay, what are actionable points? You know what I mean? But if you don't see it, there are no actionable points. So see it first. It's hard. It's very hard, especially when people are like, they're in the dark. I do think that the myth of healthcare has been little by little being chipped at, because, you know, people understand that it's like human trafficking, what they did with the doctors and have been doing, and that they've completely failed in terms of COVID. And the extent to which really there's no, you know, there's a facts. you know? So you can't say you have a wonderful healthcare system when you have failed so deeply. You know what I mean? There's so much loss of life. And also, this is a country where, I mean, at this moment in time, there are more people fleeing than we even realize. I think somewhere I read the other day that there's more than during Mariel or the rafter crisis, and I have to check those numbers. But the thing is that it's happening in a way, like the exodus is happening in a way that people aren't realizing or seeing it, because it's not like one.
Exactly.
It's many. They're like,
that's interesting.
Lots of different, exodus that are occurring, and escapes and etc. So it's like this. Valves. It used to be like, here's this one escape valve, go. This is how you can go. You can jump in the water in 1994 and we're not going to capture you, and you can make it across in the raft if you make it, and if not,
when?
You know. And Mariel was the same. So leave from this port, great, let your family pick you up. But here, it's like Nicaragua, Serbia, everywhere. You know what I mean? They're scattered all around the world right now. So,
yeah. That's it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for people like you that because I am one of those people that's like, okay, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, I can only handle this for so long.
Yeah.
And I need a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But you guys that have that strength to keep going and say, no, you know, we can't forget. We have to just keep this somewhere within our
being, right? Yeah. Like, even if, I think there was like a giant push on social media at a certain, like with a certain time frame, and there's like a pulling back of that a little bit, but that doesn't mean that things are not happening and that you're not constantly in you know what I mean? It's just being Cuban, I guess.
We do have a certain sense. And maybe it's just everybody. It's just like the human spirit. But I feel like we have honed in that ability to just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because of everything in our history.
Yeah.
But it does feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always feels like you're not doing enough. You know? It's like the parent guilt and the Cuba guilt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Especially, do you, I think we talked about this before, but do you have family there still?
So I have some family there. A lot. Most of my family is not there anymore. There's some of my family that I don't know where they are, which is so crazy to think about. Like, and I don't know if they're around anymore. Like, probably not. My grandmother's siblings, we lost them. Like, we lost contact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to think about. And then my dad, my stepdad's family, there's a bunch of people that are still there. I would say that that's like the biggest little group that's still over there. It was who I have visited when I went. And then everybody else is gone. Everybody else is left.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
Crazy.
You have family there?
My nucleus, like, thankfully they're all here. But I do have like distant, you know, aunts and cousins and things of that nature. Yeah. I don't know who's gonna be left on the island. It's tough. It's tough, and it just like you said, it's not easy to call for war. But you know what? It's like, okay, something's got to give.
Yeah, we have to do something.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, with your work and with this book that's being released, I think it's gonna remind everybody to connect to their roots.
Hopefully,
to help their kids connect to their roots and why it matters.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see how that's gonna help.
Yeah, I mean,
and the
crossed.
fact that Cuba is not just this island that's lived under eternal communism. You know, we have great traits and we have lots of things to celebrate. You know, bread and family and culture.
And I mean, Cuba's at the center of this book. Like, right in the middle, there's a moment where my grandfather has to leave Cuba because he's not able to speak or be free in any way. And he tells that to the little girl in the book. And He, that's right there in the middle, like right in the lesson of Cuban bread. So yeah, I mean, it's just, there's a lot there. And even just seeing that, I think for me, seeing that in print in a kid's book, like it is not a place where you can speak freely or be free or all of that in a children's book, I think is extremely important because it's a truth and it is a way of passing on a lot of this, like that is my particular story, but there are many stories, how many of our families all over, like from any background. Mm-hmm. So
unfortunately, way too many people can relate to this.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, we wish it wasn't the case, but it is. And stories like this, like in your book, I think are crucial. Yeah. They've always been crucial, but somehow today feels more necessary than ever because it feels like we're forgetting.
Yeah. Yep. And the food, the recipes and the food are the things you can bring with you and that actually no one can take away from you because you have them inside of you. And so I feel like that gets passed on without our understanding, which is why we have croqueta Cubans that have like, you know what I'm saying? But it's real. Like you have that recipe, which is that, that formula of culture inside of you that you can make and that gets passed down from generation to generation. And it's so symbolic of the things, especially when you have to run away.
Yeah.
When you're running away from this thing and need that root and need that place that you ran away from, it's in the food, and for me, the food and the story hand in hand. It's all, in the making of the thing. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being here, for sharing,
thank you.
For these beautiful gifts this morning. And, everybody, make sure you check out Vanessa's book and support her work because it is beautiful, especially if you're a parent. And if you're not, find that kid in your life and gift it to them. This is just a celebration of culture and all culture, not necessarily Cuban culture.
Yeah.
Everybody can connect to these themes and these ideas. And like we said, the pictures are so beautiful.
They're so cute. Yeah.
They're adorable.
It's called What the Bread Says.
I don't think we said title.
What the Bread Says.
What the Bread Says. Yes. And we'll have it linked down below.
Yeah.
So it hopefully everybody can just get to it easier. But again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
To everybody listening and watching, thank you so much. As we always say, time is the top currency. So the fact that you spent it with us just means so much.
Super grateful.
Let us know what you think of the book. Let us give us feedback. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me so I can read it and bake with my kids.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to go in my mind. I'm going to get my copy.
Yeah.
And we're going to bake.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing. And it's going to be a tradition. You're going to be a tradition in our house.
My God.
Every time we bake bread, we're going to bust out this book.
I love it. Thank you so much.